with a file, but after a man introduced me, so I got put down the file and talk to you. I don't understand what Tyrone trying to do. He behaving like if the election is next week. He got your heart. He got your heart. But let me bring you back down a little bit, because the race is not for the swift, but the race is for who? For who? He who endureth. And the reason why we are here tonight, as we were in St. James, as we were in Black Rock, as we will be every part of this country, is to talk to you about the country that you born in and that you love. And in a very real way, all of us find ourselves asking each other week by week, what is Barbados? This is the Barbados that we know. This is the Barbados that we born in. This is the Barbados that people know about. Because it is almost unrecognizable. We don't know what we are seeing. We can't believe that you could pick up a paper this morning at a University of the West Indies that educates so many people out of this country, out of poverty, into being able to provide for the family. And now when other young people looking for it to do the same thing for them, they're being told, come next weekend, don't mind you might have the grades, don't mind you might be able to get into the university, but because the government of Barbados will not pay the university the money it owes it, the university might not let these young people come up to Cave Hill and study. It is unheard of. But it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. Tell me one other incident that you can remember where a government of Barbados had a judgment passed against it, and 4 or 5 years later, the man can't draw cent one from the judgment. The government of Barbados has never, under Grantley Adams, under Errol Barrow, under Tom Adams, under Owen Arthur, even under Sandy Ford, never ever, and certainly not under Brees and John, never ever ever walked away from its duties. If the court said you had to pay somebody money, the government of Barbados went into its pocket, pull out the money and paid the people. And let me stop a minute, because Kerry and Dale can tell you that under the Crown Proceedings Act in Barbados, you cannot levy against the government. And one of the reasons why you cannot levy against the government is because it is expected that the government will do the decent, the honorable thing and pay its debts when they become due. So when I say to you tonight that you want to know, is this the Barbados that I know? Is this the Barbados that I live in? Is this the Barbados that I was born in? You are entitled to ask that question. Because in almost every respect, we are seeing behavior that does not reflect who we are as a people. But when you have people who don't know 6 from a 9, who are round pegs in square holes and square pegs in round holes, that's what happens. When you start wrong, you have to end up wrong. And it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. You have a Barbados that now is treating people in a way when they come up here. You in Christchurch know about it. Because when they come to the airport, they're treated sometimes in ways that when you as a Bajan go overseas now, you hang your head in shame when you hear how they're treating people. Is this the Barbados that you know? There are people struggle all about. Even the fishermen, when they go to other countries, people telling them, this is how we're treating people. And I say to you tonight that enough is enough. Enough is enough. But it doesn't end there. However bad things were, we could manage our educational system. If people had problems, you pull them one side and you deal with it. You think this is the first government that had head teachers and teachers that couldn't get on? We had the same thing in 1996. I was Minister of Education. I had the same Barbados Secondary Teachers Union. I had the same, in fact, Setu Sab as well and Leroy Trotman were involved. Hallam King, who is born somewhere out this side. And we didn't bring a whole educational system to its knees. We didn't ask the Ministry of Finance for $600,000 to air our dirty linen in public. Every day, you have teachers who come next week and week after go find hell to work together because they have been taking positions in public against each other, and it is going to be difficult for them to work with one another, far less for the children to have respect for them. And that is what we've done to the educational system in this country. All because you have a Minister of Education and a Prime Minister both frightened to take decisions in the interests of the children at Alexandra School. Over 100 years old that school is. That school went through people who didn't care nothing about children in the colonial days. It went through people who care about children. It went through every form and fashion. And it has now been brought to its knees, where anybody visiting Barbados as a tourist wants to know what the hell is going on every day in this paper with this head teacher and these teachers cursing one another and a chairman and this unseemly behavior. Is this the country that you were born and proud to be a Bajan? Who has brought it to its knees? And I say to you tonight that you have to stop and take stock. Because when you can have, all of us know that the things that matter to a Bajan, a piece of the rock, our education, getting access to health care, being able to leave your house and walk up on the road without nobody knocking you down, having a piece of change in your pocket, even if it is to help build for the future, not to necessarily lick out and flam all the time. Those are the things that make us who we are as a people. And we are now holding our heads in shame day after day, night after night, because we have a government that has not learned how to take care and how to make decisions. If you cannot make a decision, step off the table and let somebody make it for you. If you don't know that when you had an institutional report telling you, you know something, this situation at Alexandra cannot be resolved. That's what the report said that was on Ronald Jones's desk for 9 months. It cannot be resolved. And instead of them acting on it, they have taken $600,000 to create this commission of inquiry to wash dirty linen in public. And to Caswell Franklin's credit, in his article in the paper today, he reminded all of us why not a drop of the evidence that you have heard in the last few weeks can be used against a single person. So all it is a form of washing dirty linen in public. No action can be taken by the Public Service Commission against anybody on the basis of that commission's report. And yet, there are people in this community and across this parish who this week, when you had 36 hours of rain, had to couch in the house because 2 years after Thomas, they can't even get the house fixed in this country. And you spending $600,000 on a commission of inquiry, $100,000 to send a minister of sports with his wife and his sister-in-law to not an opening ceremony but a closing ceremony at the Olympics. A closing ceremony at the Olympics. And people who 2 years ago were promised that your government would come and fix the house after it was damaged by Thomas can't get a single bit of work done to get the roof or the siding board or the floorboards fixed. Up to yesterday, a woman from St. James came to my constituency office walking with a stick. House damaged in Thomas. Promise after promise after promise. Last month, piece of the flooring board almost cut off the top of her toe. And we think it ain't even easy for us to get up on a platform. All we doing is talking about it. But imagine if you were the person with the rain coming through wetting. You feel anybody could tell me that I can only talk about it? Thank God Bajans docile. Thank God Bajans are docile. Because we are beginning to take too many things for granted. And when I tell you, is this the country that you were born to be proud of when you were born here? Yes, we never know what it is to have a government that don't pay bills. Even when things got rough with Tom in 1980-81, we fixed our business and moved on. Even when things got rough with Sandyford, he tried to fix his business, couldn't get it done, and you fix him out of office. But you now have a government, 2008, they couldn't get the bills paid, they're earning less than they're paying out. 2009, they couldn't get the bills paid, they're earning less than they're paying out. 2010, they couldn't get the bills paid, they're earning less than they're paying out. 2011, they couldn't get the bills paid, they're earning less than they're paying out. 2012, good Lord, the same thing going on. How much more? In the words of John King, how many more must suffer just for the Dems to say that they're the government of this country? How many more? We have never, not even when the colonials were in charge, had a situation where for 5 years we are paying out more money than we earn month to month. If you were doing it cross there in that house, the people would say you don't know how to manage your money. If you were doing it, the people would say that you're reckless, that you don't know what you're doing with your money. But we are now accepting that in Barbados as the new norm. And I say to you tonight that enough is enough. And this next election will be about the soul of Barbados. It will be about what kind of Barbadian do we want to be. It will be about what kind of Barbados do we want to live in. It will be about how do we make things better. And let us not get tired, Labour Party family. We didn't do everything right neither. So we got some business to fix and correct too. They're not only Dems. But what we do know is that it is not business as usual. It cannot be business as usual. You cannot take children, send them to St. Christopher's Primary School, then send them to Foundation, or send them to Dighton Griffith, or send them to Lodge School, or send them to Princess Margaret, and expect them to behave like if you never gave them an education. But the people can think. And the people know that if I own 5 5 houses and 3 cars, but I don't have no money to buy food nor to pay my light bill when the month come. What you gonna do? Sit down and say, look at my 5 houses, look at my 3 cars, don't mind I can't eat no food when the day come. What you gonna do? The most important obligation is to make sure that people can eat and that they have a roof over their head and that they have a job to be able to take care of themselves. And if you can't do those basic things for the population, then you need to go home. Because you're only wasting time. You're only making mock sport at people. And don't tell me that you have not sent home anybody in government when you have sent home 16,000 people in the private sector. Over the last 4.5 years, 16,000 people have gone home in the private sector. There are people in this audience who used to work at hotels. Right across Christchurch, more hotels have closed down in Barbados than any other part and parish. And the ones that haven't closed down have people on short time, 2-day, 3-day weeks. What do you expect them to do when the week comes? Don't worry about that. Time longer than twine. I say to you tonight, it isn't only the hotels in Christchurch that have closed. Look at the office buildings. You coming up here tonight from town and you're passing Welch's. Look at BioVale. Gone, shut down. Look at the Ernst & Young building owned by Clico. Go right through Christchurch and it is almost dodging. That building closed, that hotel closed. It is almost like a ghost town. But then again, this is the only government that run by ghosts. Because this government run by 2 dead men, Harold Barra and David Thompson. I don't know how many of you in here remember a movie that had called Ghostbusters. You're going to soon have to ask every time I ask you the question, who you going to call? Who you going to call? And who the Ghostbusters in Barbados are? The Barbados Labour Party. But for real, this is the only government that every time they open their mouth, they pray and aid 2 men who are dead. They don't tell you what they're going to do for you. They don't tell you how they're going to fix you. They don't tell you how they're going to get the hotels open back. They don't tell the people at Clico how they're going to deal with them. Frandel Stewart last week, instead of dealing with what he's going to do for the Clico policy holders, telling you the report don't say nothing about David Thompson. Who the hell cares what it says about Thompson? That's not your concern if you have money in Clico. Your concern is when you are going to get back your money. Your concern is not even whether somebody thief or didn't thief the report. You want to know when you will get back your money. And I say to you tonight that that is what I mean when I say this next election is going to be about the soul of this country. We were accustomed that if a prime minister or a minister of finance tells you they're going to do X or Y, everybody in the Caribbean could close their eyes and know that if Arabara said X or Y, or Grantley said X or Y, or Tom or Owen, you know Barbados didn't even need to sign a piece of paper because their word were their bond. And I'm not telling you things that I make up. I sat on the University of the West Indies Council for 7 years. So when I can hear that the government of Barbados owes the university $156 million, I know it is shameful. I know it is shameful. And I know that the word Barbados has never been associated with Owen University, 10 million, far less, $156 million. But the one that hurt my heart the most, and I'm breaking it up for you tonight, the one that hurt my heart the most is what is going on in the Royal Barbados Police Force. Because, you know, in a very real sense, and you know that I served as Attorney General for 5 years. And you know that I know what it is to work close and have to rely on the police in the midst of a crisis like the prison burning. And that you must be able, with confidence, to speak to your law enforcement officials and know that they can protect the people of this country day, night, sunlight, rain, whenever. But when you start to take a force and you start to divide it, you don't think that we work with Dems in the force? Of course. But nobody didn't care if there was Dems or Bs or Gs or Fs or Ks. The only thing I'm interested in is, are you delivering? Are the people safe? Can we rely on you to do what we say we're going to do? That's all that matters. And we got to have to sit down and read Friday's paper and read that come tomorrow morning, Barbados will now be talked about in the Caribbean for sending home a commissioner of police because he tell men that they were recommended for promotion. Stop a minute. We are sending them home because the commissioner preside over a doubling of murder ben. We are sending him home because the commissioner corrupt. We are sending him home because the commissioner thief. We are sending him home because the commissioner killed somebody or the police killed somebody. We are sending a commissioner of police home because the head of special branch, the head of financial crime, Tyrone, the head of SSU, the former head of special branch, all them men who is worked day and night to protect you were recommended for promotion. They brought an action, and Kerry will tell you he knows about it, against the Service Commission and the police, because even though they were recommended by the Commissioner and the Promotions Advisory Board established by law to be promoted, the Police Service Commission say, you see them? No. You see him? No. You see him? No. And then pick some people, like if you're picking a village cricket team. I like how he look. Ben, you look as a good man who will get promoted. Let me give you a double promotion star. Don't mind him in charge of nothing. Don't mind all he's do is drive the Deputy Commissioner of Police. But he won't be a driver too if I could get a promotion so. That's what went down. But it isn't so easy. You would believe that the commissioner come outside and talk to you, Rudy, or you, Grantley. A case was filed by Ralph Thorne and Kerry Simmons and others, Alair Shepherd, in a court of law. And the commissioner of police had to appear with his lawyer before a judge. And when they were asked questions, he then had to file an affidavit. And when anybody goes into a court of law to give evidence or to file an affidavit, what is the first thing they ask you to do? To swear to do what? To tell what? The truth, the whole truth, and what? Nothing but the truth. So, if the commissioner, in telling the whole truth, admits to the men, well, yes, you were recommended, don't mind, you were not promoted. How can you now want to send home the man for telling the truth? But Barbados Barbados will truly enter the Guinness Book of World Records for sending home a commissioner of police for telling the court the truth. Do you understand what I'm telling you? That you want to send home a commissioner of police for telling a judge the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But you know, we ain't born yesterday. We ain't born yesterday, because you notice that it ain't only about sending home the commissioner. They could tell you who will replace you already. What parish the man who will replace him come from? What parish the man who will replace him come from? St. who? St. Lucy? What parish the man who gonna become deputy come from? Are they area? St. Lucy again? What parish Bertie Hines come from? The deputy? Say who? Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord. Well, let us say, send Bertie Hines a message that we are prepared to let St. Lucy and Kelman and Bertie Hines cut off with the commissioner and the deputy, because they don't feel that they obviously can work in a Barbados where other people have a chance to do things that they're required to do under the law. How in God's name can we now be carving up a police force and picking people like if you're picking a village cricket team in Clinkett, St. Lucy, or in Crab Hill, St. Lucy? That is what this country is being reduced to. And don't tell me that it is the service commission and not the government, because the government knew very well who they were putting on the service commission. When Keith Simmons sat on the service commission for the police, the service commission for the public service commission, and the Alexandra School Board, how all these things end up in confusion? You know, they had a Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other. But I don't understand. You mean to tell me that everything you put your hands to is confusion, controversy, and commerce? When Keith Whitaker was bypassed to be Commissioner of Police, I would hate to think that he's still thinking about that 15 years later. But you know what is sad? That all these men over 70, the rest of us, you, Kurt, got a full life to live, and you are now to be living in a Barbados where you can't trust decisions being made in the interest of the country first. But you have to wonder, it isn't even about the Dems no more, it is about the Dems in St. Lucy. You understand what's going on? A commissioner is to be sent home not because crime gone up. A commissioner is to be sent home not because police corrupt and licking down people. A commissioner is to be sent home because people want to guarantee that men from St. Lucy can lead a force. No. Enough is enough. We all know what the result will be come next election. That is not the issue. And I'm not being arrogant. I'm the last one to be arrogant, because I don't count my chickens before the hatch. But I also know that Bajans cannot take any more. They cannot take any more. The amount of young people that are dying in the 40s. Cynthia, the one that you buried last week, 47 years old. All he could do is get out the car and call for the wife, and too late. I had 2 this week in Bashal, one burying tomorrow. They cannot take the pressure anymore. And what bothers me, yes, the Prime Minister can go till May, but can the police force withstand these blows between now and May? No. Can the University of the West Indies withstand these blows between now and May? Can Alexandra School take another school year with a minister and people who don't know what the hell they're doing for another year? And I can go institution, and I didn't even start to get to the Water Authority and Mr. Lowe yet. Because I don't know how there can, you know, what I sang to you just now is something you got to keep in mind about one of these things. Dennis Lowe may not be Minister of Water now, but he was Minister of Water when this audit was done by the Barbados Auditor General. He was the Minister in 2010 up to May. And he was the Minister and is the Minister in charge of the National Conservation Commission, and is the minister who was in charge of the caves as well. And I want to know tonight whether the people referred to in here as the company getting almost $1 million in money and not delivering a yin, a yang, a yum to the Water Authority. Not a single thing was delivered, to the point where the Auditor General says they should be held accountable. What he really means is that they need locking up. Not that they should be held accountable. If anybody in Sears Court or Bush Hall took $10,000 from you tonight, Rose, you would go to Oystins, report them, and tell them that they had the money for a year, and you ain't get what you wanted to get, and they would be taken to grand sessions. But $1 million could be taken from the Water Authority. You got your bid with a 60% increase in 2009 for water rates in this country. Part of your money that you paid in extra money is what has carried the Water Authority and allowed them to give away almost that $1 million. And up to tonight, nothing has been delivered. Now I say to you tonight, you know, 2 years ago I did a search on that company in Florida. I knew then what I know now. And I am happy that you now know what I knew then. I also am aware that there's a certain Michael Walcott from St. Thomas who every year estimates, he, apart from the 30 members of Parliament, is the one man for sure that is be sitting down in the gallery in the House of Assembly. And every year I turn to Dugid, I turn to Cinti, because he's from St. Thomas originally. I said, but how come we see this man in here only once a year? Whenever estimates being done in March, we see this man. 3 out of the 4 years, even the night when the gun get pulled on Dale, he was in the room drinking the brandy in here. Other than that, he's supposed to live in the States. But then I realized that estimates is where you find out where government gonna got money here, there, and anybody who wanna know where government money gonna be, come and sit down for estimates, because you can find out where to find all the money. Now, I only want Dennis Lowe to tell us whether that company that got almost $1 million and delivered nothing to the Water Authority is the same company that would have helped to get money for equipment from the National Conservation Commission as well. I want to know that. I want to know whether the procurement officer at the Water Authority was one Mr. Hadley Bayer. I want to know whether he had anything at all to do with any of the other procurements at the NCC as well. And I'm saying to you that I want to know these things because 16,000 Bajans are out of work. And every month, you are paying 60% more for water in this country. You were promised that mains would be laid so that you could have more efficient water. And up to now, you're still waiting for that. You were promised that people would be able to get an ease on other things. Are you still waiting for that? But yet the Prime Minister can tell you about a CLICO report that was stolen, but can't tell you who will get locked up for money that get carried away from the Water Authority, because they would have to get carried away if they have it and no goods were delivered. I asked you at the beginning of this speech, what kind of country are you living in today? And is this the Barbados that you were born to be proud of? These are the kinds of things. Look, I lived in Christchurch for 2 years when I was a little child with my grandmother and grandfather in Sergeant's Village. My grandmother was born in Grenada, came here as a young woman. And as a child, she would tell me, I used to hear her use a word, babal. And I used to go, Granny, what's that you're talking about? She said, oh, don't worry about that word. Bajans don't do babal. That is Trinidadians and other people that do babal. And I grew up in this parish knowing that Bajans didn't do babal. Bajans didn't get involved in that kind of corruption. And 40 years later, find myself now on a platform in this parish talking about people who bold-faced, because you would have to be bold-faced to take $1 million and don't deliver a single screw or a nail or a cock or anything. You would have to be bold-faced. You would have to believe that this is your country. You would have to believe that you are in charge of the police force. You would have to believe that nobody from the police force can come and knock at your door and lock you up. I wonder if that's why the commissioner gets suspended. I hope not. I hope not. I am saying to you, colleagues, friends, this is serious times. And it is easy for you to come here tonight and listen to a speech and to have others come and talk to you. You know you're suffering, but is it enough that you alone are suffering? Because some may be suffering and feel, well, I prepared to live with them because I like them. Or I prepared to live with them because the Labour Party just had 14 years. But that's not what it is about. And that is why tonight, I'm not only going to tell you the things that I've told you that cause you to feel shame about your government and your country. I want to tell you about a party that I believe, and a set of people like Wilfred Abrams and Jerome Walcott and Margot Callender and Desmond Sands and Maria Agard. People who are going to try and restore representation like what you were accustomed to in Christchurch. Christchurch was a parish that had giants representing them. Breeson John, Henry Ford, Reggie Farley, Johnny Cheltenham, even Edwin Talma, Fred Goddard, call all the names. And now you have people that you got to hide and tell anybody. You got to keep law that he is law. You got one called Little Hitler. You got another one, every time he open his mouth, it is to curse you, curse you, curse you, curse you, curse you, and then run and hide. That's not what the people of Christchurch are accustomed to. And make no mistake about it, both parties believe that you in Christchurch will be critical to who will serve as the next government of Barbados. And you, in a sense, will have a disproportionate influence and say in a parliament of 30 people. So you need to stop and study yourself good. And that's why I have kept asking you, what kind of country do you want to live in? What kind of Barbados do you want? What kind of Bajan do you want to see in this country? And we haven't come here just to mamagai you. I told you about all the hotels across the South Coast that are either closed or about to close. When I gave the budget reply, I made the point that the Barbados Labour Party sees it as one of its most important tasks to create a fund of $500 million to make low-interest loans to some of these hotels that are now closed down. And think it through. If we create a fund, and the fund doesn't come from the taxpayers' money, the fund comes from us leveraging our relationships with the Inter-American Development Bank, the Caribbean Development Bank, making sure that the NIS money can invest and get a return, not like using the NIS money to pay university fees or transport board and don't get no return. But when we create this fund, you are then in a position to see men who are tradesmen helping to restore and refurbish these hotels so that when people come from overseas, they want to stay in them. So that your sisters and daughters and brothers and whatever children can work in the hotels again and get money. So that the fishermen will have markets to sell their fish to. We have talked already as well in the budget reply about us creating a special fund for fishermen. There are people out there who don't go fishing because they don't want to. It's because they don't have money to buy a boat or lease a boat. But if you can give those same young men access to a boat, you don't think they're going to go and fish and help to support the family? And you tell them straight, you're going to fish. If you fish drugs, you lose the boat. We don't make sport. You're going to fish. But the difference is that we are going to take a chance on you. We're not taking a chance on Jada alone. We're not taking a chance on Michael Walcott and the people in the Water Authority audit. We're taking a chance on everybody. And when we say to you, because we know that some of you are catching hell with the drug service money that you got to pay, especially the older ones among you, who got to now find money to give the pharmacy to get the medication. And we said, look, those of you who earning less than $25,000, you don't have to go and pay that fee at the pharmacy anymore. And if you earning more than $25,000 a year, if you earning more than $2,000 a month, we can make sure that if you pay for medical insurance, that we can let you claim it back against your taxes, so that you get some more money back in your pocket. And then you heard Owen Arthur talk about a middle class tax cut. That if you are earning up until $100,000, we feel that you can put a little more piece of money in your pocket. You know what that means? That anybody earning $7,000 a month or less, that we are going to put something back in your pocket, not because we want to give you a giveaway budget, but because if money doesn't start to spend in this economy, then people will not be able to make a living. People won't get jobs. People can't spend money in shops. And it is not anything other than understanding that, as the old people tell you, I am going to bet who bet me. We have to bet on Bajan people and allow Bajan people to get out of this harassment, economic harassment, and this kind of madness that the Democratic Labour Party is strangling us with every day, simply because they do not know what to do. I say to you tonight that in the same house in Christchurch was the first time I heard anybody tell me, open up the windows and let the air come in the house. Air the house. Well, the Barbados Labour Party, when I say to you that we have learned too, that it can't be business as usual. We know that we have to open up the windows to this nation and air the nation. And that people must be able to walk in this country and get jobs in this country and borrow money money in this country without having to be somebody's son or somebody's girlfriend or somebody's lover or somebody this. They get it because they deserve it, because of who they are. And that is the Barbados I want to build. That is the Barbados we want to make you proud of again. That is the Barbados that we feel can make a difference and can stand on its own 2 feet. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is a first night, and we will be back. And we will be back to tell you about that Barbados, because that Barbados is what all of us cry for every day when we see the performance of this government. But in the meantime, know that those who are here at this meeting can't do it alone. That each of us needs to bring one. Each of us needs to hold one. Each of us needs to take one. And whenever that morning comes, remember that you are not voting for Wilfred or Jerome or any of them, but you are voting for the soul of Barbados. And the Labour Party only happens to be the messenger. Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? And we are going to boast. We're going to boast once again that Barbados is a country that believes in the living, not in the dead. That 2 dead men can't rule this country no more. Gone, good night, and God bless.